Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. God, so much has happened. Sit back, grab a popcorn, anything to munch on, sit comfortably because there's a lot to discuss about. Jeffree Star is again in news, this time for not the right reasons, and it does seem that all of this boyfriend robbing him, was also sort of made up. But Insider did an investigation on Jeffree Star. And started talking to a lot of people behind the scenes, some victims, some people who wanted to come forward, some of his friends, stage managers back in the day, to see if there's any truth to these allegations. And apparently a lot came out of that investigation. So just to give you guys a little bit of context, this was something that was started with because of an article on August 23rd, 2020. It was on a blog, Sticky Drama, and so you guys can check that out. But essentially, that's the article that lays out exactly what happened with this person named Arthur, and he's basically the one who's saying that, hey, Jeffree Star tased, drugged me, and then had non-consensual oral sex with me. So, and in that he goes in details exactly what has happened with him, and how things have built up, and how exactly does he essentially feel. Anyways, after that article came out, Insider started doing an investigation about this said thing, and so a lot of things came up. So of course, as always, Jeffree Star's MySpace days aren't exactly the greatest. So a lot of stuff about his racial outbursts, his anger, and all of that sort of came up. But one thing that also came up that, Jeffree Star would pry around men. Basically the people around him, he would constantly check them out and, have non-consensual oral sex or, grope them. They also said that, Jeffree had a taser, and so he would, threaten people when he faced rejection. And of course, Jeffree Star's attorney, as always, has said, oh, this is just false and defamatory. But, in another instance, they did try to pay out a couple of victims, and, people wanted to come forward. But, that's apparently leaked. So, these are the sort of things that do not, get leaked that easily. So it does make me question as to if the entire investigation is honest, or if there are certain pieces that are fabricated so that an entire storyline is made. But let's step back for a bit. This is a person, Jeffree Star is a multi-million-dollar person. So $14.6 million, that's the price tag of the mansion that he lives in. He has an estimated value of 17 million garnered just from YouTube. So this is a person who has a lot, and who has a lot of opportunity around them, a lot of money. So of course we've seen that a lot of times people do have a vested interest in taking someone down, especially someone who has access to a lot of money. So it does feel like that, okay, it's being speculated if this is something that can be tested in the court of law, if this can actually proceed forward with a formal investigation where authorities can be involved. But so far, from the article, it seems that a lot of accusations have come off, such as, sexual assault, physical violence, tasing people. 4 people who spoke with Insider said that, Jeffree Star groped men around him without consent. 5 people told Insider that they personally saw him using a close-range stun gun or other tasing device to hurt and intimidate people around him. So that's, of course, not cool. But in 2009, so basically this is the person that we're talking about who came out with, his story that, he was drugged and, tased and raped. So in 2009, Jeffree Star used sort of taser on this guy when he had rejected his, advancements in a cinema. So that person, that teen, later, stayed the night in Star's apartment. So the story is that, this person, Arthur, was basically in between couches, has moved to LA, was an aspiring, entertainment artist. So he was just in a difficult time, and, Jeffree said, hey, you know what, why don't you come and live with me? And he said, all right. And so that night they went to watch a movie. And in that movie theater, Jeffree had tried to sort of hold his hand, but he had shrugged it off, and Jeffree was obviously, not okay with it, and, tased him in the parking lot. So, it's one of the things that has also come out of the story that Arthur had told Insider that Jeffree Star, at that night when he was staying at his place, Jeffree Star had given him Ambien. And until he was fully intoxicated, he forcefully performed oral sex with him without his consent. So, it's just insane that people would be able to do stuff like this and think that they can get away with it, or not even have the decency to, I understand that, now people are going to say that, the 90s and, the early 2000s was a different world, and, of course, groping, that those things were just, people would let it pass because, that was something that people used to do. But, now that we've grown out of it, and now that, none of those things, now that we understand what is consensual and not consensual, I think one should have the decency to actually just go ahead and apologize for the stuff that they've done in the past, and not just, launch a public apology and just say that, this accountability fiasco is just also a little weird, because people always talk about that, hey, I'm gonna hold myself accountable, but I don't think that they know exactly what that means. Accountability is not that you just hold yourself, you hold yourself and, just reaffirm that, yes, you've done this, and, you apologize for it. It's about actively making sure that you change, actively making sure that, whatever you've done in the past, whoever that you've affected in the past, you reach out to them, you apologize to them, you make sure that they're okay, and that whatever bad stuff that you had done to them can be repaired in some way or the other. So that's what accountability is. But I feel like mostly YouTubers come out with accountability videos. I've seen that in Shane's case, that some celebrities were calling him out on Twitter, and he freaked out, so he launched this accountability video, and then we actually saw his true colors during his live stream, which was weird. He shouldn't have done that. But with Jeffree Star, we see some of the more similar patterns being repeated, and it's just not okay. I feel like that these people who have access to all these sorts of opportunities, all this money around, and businesses, and it's just sad. Like, imagine that if you were the victim here, and you would see his billboards and his advertisements on Instagram and then Facebook, and see his YouTube channel skyrocketing, and so that's not okay. I mean, if I were to see my abuser constantly in front of me, it would be an even more traumatic experience for me to not only just step away from what has happened in the past, but actually be forced to live with your abuser every day, and with every interaction. So it's just not okay. I feel like that my heart goes out to all of those who are victims of sexual abuse, and I know that it's so hard to recover from it, which makes it all the more reason for us to talk about the story. These days, people have come forth and said that, hey, he actually used to be a part of a group where only MySpace influencers, LGBTQI MySpace influencers would hang out, but and this person had sort of received a email from an unknown email and it had a nude picture, and in that nude picture she saw a tattoo which was very similar to Jeffree's. So now this person at that point in time used to identify as trans and used pronouns as he, but went ahead and apparently behind the scenes he was trying to ask Jeffree as to why he did something like that, why he would grope men and things of that nature. No clarifications came out when they reached out to Jeffree for a story, an impactful moment in his LGBTQI life, and so Jeffree just completely flipped on this person, said that, hey, you're disgusting, you're a liar, and just the typical Jeffree. So it just seems that it's a little odd that there's so much of, beef that has been apparently buried. But that's the thing, right? Like, accountability means that you actually going and cleaning up your past. It's not just coming to terms with it. It's like, people that you've wronged, you go and you do right by them, so that stuff that you've done in the past doesn't come haunting again. And in Jeffree's case, it feels like that, hey, I'm gonna be accountable for my actions, but none of the stuff that he has done in the past doesn't really matter. He's only gonna be accountable for his actions from here onwards, which is not the case. Even his actions beyond that video, it seems like that, hey, we're getting nowhere with you. So this entire story was just too much for me. So apparently, Jeffree's lawyer were in communication. They were constantly denying various different allegations, and on Arthur's when they asked for a statement on Arthur's story, they sort of delayed, did not really get back to Insider at that point in time. Some people are talking about that Arthur was paid off behind the scenes, and then Jeffree's lawyers responded to Insider, and then they had a more empowered position to say that, oh yeah, you're really not going to hear from him again. It just seemed a little odd that kind of communication had happened. Arthur has also reached out to, I think, a couple of other victims, and in this case, people wanted to come out, and witnesses. But a screenshot has been shared from one of these witnesses that, hey, Arthur had reached out to them, said that if they were to retract their statements as well with Insider, Jeffree has agreed to sort of pay $10,000. It's crazy that you'd pay someone off $10,000 to keep their mouth shut, but it just goes beyond. You see, right? Like, it's just, he has all of this money, and it's okay for him to pay $10,000. $10,000 is not a small amount, but he doesn't feel the need, or he doesn't realize that this is wrong. He just want to do right by his wrong actions in the past. And the entire story feels like that, if there is some level of truth here, because of course the person who accused has back to being retracted all of their statements. So there is no way to, even pursue legal action at this point, or send it to the authorities, because, it is important for people to come out with their stories if they've been affected, if they've gone through trauma, so that, at the end of the day, it's a story that's empowering for everyone else. And so if someone else is going through something like this, they can also step up and basically stand up for themselves. But in this case, if the main guy has essentially gone away, then what do you do now? So I think the Insider did an amazing piece, but the only, I think, little detail that seems a little off is the screenshot from Arthur saying that, this is the payout, and if you were to retract your statements, you'll get $10,000. I know for a fact that if you work with a lawyer or any sort of space where something like this is even suggested, they want to do it so hush-hush that you would never find out. These kinds of payoffs are, I feel like, they're always done in physical meetings. It's never done through online mediums, and lawyers are very privy of the fact that, okay, they will not be ratted out, essentially. In this case, it feels like that it was so strangely done via a messenger application that it feels like that, no, maybe the screenshot was created. Of course, screenshots in these days and in this day and age, it doesn't really, there's no way to tell whether a screenshot's legitimate or not until and unless you pursue legal action and then go ahead and run background checks and see if such a conversation ever really happened or not. In this case, I hope that, if there's any truth to these stories, that, the truth must come out and there needs to be legal action associated to it. Sexual abuse is a big thing. One gets affected for their entire life. Some of us, don't even realize that it's assault or it's abuse until much later that we realize, once we start understanding what's consent, what's not, what's non-consent. Because as kids, or as Even in our teenage years, I've been a victim of abuse myself, so it didn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense when it's happening. It's only when you get a process, and first off, you have to get out of the trauma. Once you get out of the trauma, you sort of begin to realize exactly what has happened with you. And some people actually go through the trauma, but they don't really understand what's triggering it or why they are so affected by it. So my heart goes out to all of those people who have been a victim of physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. It's not okay. I think everyone should have the right to live their lives however they want. They should have the authority to reciprocate flirtatious, feelings. And if they don't want to do that, they should have the liberty and the freedom to just do that as well. No one should have agency over anyone's life. Once you even begin to conceive the idea that you have authority over someone's life, it's not okay. Because it just then gives you this sense of entitlement that you can do whatever with someone and then get away with it. We don't realize that the kind of impact words and actions leave on other people. So in this case, I'd link down the article to insider.com in the description. Go ahead and read through it. It's a long article, but it's a really good investigation. And it does seem like that the insider has spoken to people around Jeffree. They have spoken with reference to exactly what's been going on, and how things connect. The only thing that does not connect is a screenshot, because the screenshot isn't like a complete screenshot. Because if you were to add some background information that, hey, this person sent it, here's the conversation, and then screenshotted the actual picture, uploaded it, it just feels like that, there are so many applications out there where you can, just create screenshots that at this point you can't really tell. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this entire story. Comment down below as to if what is your input? What do you think? I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.